I'm curious how you think about the cloud and cloud technologies. And you made a really important point earlier. I just want to bring these two ideas together. This idea of compute at scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm imagining, the KPMG has a lot of data, and there's, and one thing we can be confident about data is that whatever you have now, you'll have more later. It's never that the data gets smaller. So you have this large corpus of data, it's getting bigger and bigger, you're throwing in third-party sources, you're looking for ways to bring these data together, sort of to combine them in new ways to add value. How does the cloud fit into that story, and how do you think about that capability of the firm?
The cloud's a critical part of our strategy. When I started my data journey at Freddie Mac, our data lake was all on-prem. And when we needed more, we had to go, procure hardware and install it, which, brought, increased time as well as cost to, the additional capabilities we needed. With the cloud, as you all know, it gives you that flexibility to spin up for what you need. I think, one of the critical things is that having in place the ability actually to manage your cloud resources. So, you spin up what you need, you use it for as long as you need it. And when you no longer use it, let's make sure, we've got good, what I call housekeeping, to make sure you're not paying for something you're not using. So, cloud is critical, because I absolutely agree with you. I know the data we have today, it's only going to continue to grow. And we also want to make sure, that we're giving our professionals the ability and the space to actually innovate and experiment with the data. So again, the way we're viewing the cloud as part of our strategy, that's going to give us that flexibility. Some people call them sandboxes. So folks can say, well, I want to bring together, these 3 third-party data sets with this client data, so I can actually experiment and do some R&D on developing, my next generation of a solution for a client. So we want to make sure that, we're matching that speed to market as those ideas are, being sort of thought up through in our client-facing teams. We don't want to say, oh, that's a great idea, we'll be back in 2 months when we have the physical, infrastructure available for you. So that speed to market is just critical, and I think the cloud's a really important part of that.
I love that idea of innovation and R&D as it relates to data, because I think we often think about data as the output of innovation. That's we can measure something or we can track it over time. But you're actually talking about data as the innovation, as it's like the raw material of creating something new, like a new drug that a drug company would create. These are the compounds that come together. I'm wondering if there's an example, a practical example you could share where you've seen real innovation coming out of data, like where data is the innovation, not not something else.
Well, and I can't give you too many specifics, but it's all of these third-party data sets that are available in the market, and how can you bring them together to get speed to market and speed to insight. And at my former employer, there was a use case that we worked on where, again, they were bringing together a whole set of third-party data with our internal data, Freddie Mac, to get us speed to market, and we developed a differentiating capability in the market that was able to really give us a lot of traction and something we were trying to accomplish. And so, that was a case of innovation, as people are saying, well, I've got all this data. If I bring it all together, does it actually give me an insight? Does it give me an outcome that, again, can differentiate myself from my competitor?
Yeah, again, I think it's, again, people often think about innovation as, the other parts of the business. Of course, there needs to be a lot of that as well, but data as a core innovation. So you also mentioned this idea of people and process and technology, this sort of triangle of capabilities. Which do you find to be the most frustrating, most challenging, and where do you see the things that work best?
So before I took on my first CDO role, I thought the data and technology would be challenging because, again, I'm a CPA by background. I'm not a technologist. But what I quickly learned is the data and the technology were a lot easier than the people on the best of days. And I don't say that, to be mean or ugly to people. It's just that, for a long time, folks were, they were taking care of their own needs, their own data needs. They sort of, well, I know how to get it done. And in this concept, this concept of foundational data assets, where you're going to put the right things together at the center, that means other people have to rely on me and my team, for example, to make available their data when they need it every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. So there's a factor of trust that has to be built, that we are here for their best interest and their success, and that's hard, especially when folks have been, I've been taking care of myself for a long time, why do I need you? So I think that's huge. But I think the other thing that tends to come up as well is, as we take some of that, I call that blocking and tackling of the data off their plates, because we're able to automate it and do it at scale. But that's been half my job for the last 10 years, is doing the blocking and tackling of data. What am I going to do with the other half of my job? So that does make people uncomfortable as well. So that's one of the challenges. I think another challenge is, and this goes back to the part of the conversation we just had around innovation, it's that concept of thinking differently about all this data that's available to us, and how can we use it to add value to the business. And it's creating time and space in people's calendars, their schedules, so they can actually be innovative about what's, the 15 data sets that might be right there staring them in the face. And so, a piece of what we're doing here, you heard me, a piece of it, there's culture, there's communication, there's change management, and there's data literacy. So we want folks, we want to, sort of equip them to think differently about how they leverage and use data when they come in the front door every day, or come to their office, in their home office right now.
Yes, of course.
So, but again, how can we help them do that? So, one of the things we are doing right now at KPMG, there are some hackathons going on, internal hackathons, where we're trying to empower some of our staff to actually use some of their data and analytics skills against problems, or thesis is there, and so that's a great way for them to get what I call hands on the keyboard experience, and start thinking about how can I use all that's available to me to deliver value to a client, to develop a new solution, etc. So I think that real life experience is so important as we're trying to focus on the people part of the data journey.